Hey guys, we're here at DreamHack Montreal with Jay the Whipple, Raze. How you doing today, buddy?
Good.
How are you enjoying the event so far?
It's been a lot of fun so far. Most of them are. Yesterday was a bit of a letdown because I only got 2 hours of sleep before my group.
Yeah.
And that was really rough because I'm really bad at playing with like no sleep.
Right.
Like,
go ahead.
Most events you're like expecting to get like probably no more than 6, but like that was like too little for me. Like,
right.
I can kind of function on like more than that, but.
Right. What were your expectations coming in, ideally?
Before I saw the groups, I was thinking like I was pretty set on like round of 32, and then round of 16 would be like if I played really well I could get that. But then like group stage 1 here was only like a little bit easier than group stage 2 at Austin. Like I think there were a lot more better players here, and there were a lot less groups that were like potentially free. So like it didn't even come so much down to bracket luck. It was just you had to play really well to get to group stage 3.
Right. Speaking of that, and because there's so many good foreigner players here, how do you stack yourself up with some of these better foreigner players?
I think like I'm definitely like clear level below a lot of like the really good Europeans and like the very top North Americans. Like I think like first of all, I think Neve's the best foreigner, like by a pretty clear margin.
Right.
And I think we have like a lot of foreigners that hang with the top Europeans. I think they just have a lot more players at that level.
Right.
Like we have like 4 or 5, they have like 15.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that they have better players, because I think the skill levels even, they just have more players at.
Right, absolutely. Now, being on Sloth, who do you feel like right now the best player on Sloth is? Because some say it's you.
Well, I think like in terms of consistent results and stuff like that, the best player is probably Game Time, but I have a good head-to-head advantage against him.
Sure.
I always do pretty well against him in tournaments. I haven't got to play him on like a big event like this yet, but we always play in like smaller online cups and stuff like that.
Right. With the addition of Suppy, do you think Sloth is slowly becoming like a real contender, like as far as like this new team league that we're getting, sponsored by Africa?
I mean, I think we definitely have capability to do really well. I don't think we can win it. Like, I think there are some insanely good teams in there. But for stuff like that, it usually comes down to how seriously the team takes it, which is where you can get an advantage a lot of the times. Because, like, for us, this is, like, the biggest thing we're involved in at the moment, like, after this is over, because there's going to be another DreamHack for, another
for a while,
for a long time, yeah. So, like, for us, it's the number one thing we're preparing for and planning for and practicing around. Whereas for much of other teams, it's just, like, something you maybe wake up early and, like, play a couple games.
Right. Is there anything you think that like we could do as the NA scene to improve it? Like, is there anything like we, the players and the community members, that could do to better the community and to better the, as a total?
I think a lot of that is on players themselves to work harder and improve, because like it's kind of like a snowball effect, right? Like if you have a lot of good players playing in the same region,
right,
like everyone starts getting better, even like players that weren't originally part of that group.
Sure.
But when like everyone's kind of slacking off and not taking it seriously, it's rough. And right now, I feel like there's maybe like 10 or so players on NA that are like at least like a top 20 GM level that are like, right, you can tell are like really pushing hard to improve and get better. Like some of those being players like Nib Masa, and some of those being players on like the lower end of that scale. But it's like those are the players where it's really easy to tell they're putting the hours in, where I think there are a lot of players that are just coasting by. And like for some people, like if you're looking at school and taking that a lot more seriously, I think that's totally fine.
Right.
But there are a lot of people that like this is supposed to be their main occupation, and I don't think they take it all that seriously.
Right. Is there anything else besides that? Like I know, like you said, I mentioned the fact that we're getting like this team league. Do you think like stuff like that really helps like the NA scene, like when we're able to compete and things like that against each other rather than like player to player, but like in a team league fashion?
I think it's really good for the players. For the scene as a whole, like if something like that starts to get good viewership and it really like people start to get into it, then that's incredibly good for the players, because the problem is that like even if there's a pretty big gap between when you start getting really good and when people actually start knowing about you. Because it's like, as someone who is playing against all these people on a regular basis, you have a very good grasp of it. And as someone like yourself who's coming to all these events and talking to all the players and watching all this, you also have a good grasp on it. But the average person sitting back at their home that's just watching the mainstream, like, they don't even broadcast any of Group Stage 1. So like, you never even see any of that stuff. You only ever see you might see like a name pop up once in a while, maybe on like a bracket or something. But you don't really get a good grasp of who these people are until they're actually making it consistently to around a 32 team in 2016.
Right. Well, and speaking of that, I think that's why it's so important that we support grassroots tournaments like Kings of the North, Cheesadelphia, Storm Cup, because that does give a lot of opportunity when we don't see as large names show up to those, and it gives some of the mid-tier players an NA and the better NA players gives them more of a shot to get their name out there, right? To become the player that they that they really should be, right? And competing at the highest level possible.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to just like the classic debate of like whether region locking is a good thing or not, but I'm not sure that it needs to be complete by any stretch of the imagination. But having events where you're competing against people that are around your own skill level and you being able to prove yourself over them is like, first of all, it's really nice to like win stuff and get money from that, but it's also a big confidence boost. Because like, if you know that you can go into a tournament and win a tournament, that helps you translate that mindset to another tournament.
Absolutely.
Like, if you didn't have those grassroots tournaments and like the only tournaments you had were like the WCSs, you come in here, you're like, holy shit, I've never been in a setting like this before. Like, how do I prepare for this? What do I do? How do I like think about this? And then you're probably just going to lose a lot more than you otherwise would.
Right, absolutely. And it's a lot of, it comes down to a lot of mindset, right? Like if you've never experienced it and stuff, so it comes down to a lot of inexperience. But that's where, experienced players like yourself kind of flourish. It's like, hey, I've been there, I've done that, and I'm able to overcome. So it's kind of a learning curve a little bit.
Yep.
So, well, thanks for taking the time with talking to me. Enjoy the rest of the event.
Thanks, you too.